this may be hard for you because you're very, well, you're a scientist, an esteemed scientist at that. But regular folks like myself like to use what we call the gut check, the BS meter, right? Just kind of because we're not very smart. I'm not very smart. So I just like my intuition. What does my intuition tell me just based off my experience? And I think, let's say, Dr. Loeb, you're sitting on your front porch with your best friend having a beer. There's no cameras. There's no talking. He just looks over. What's your gut tell you, Dr. Loeb? Do we have these crap? Like, what do you say? What does your gut tell you about this?
I would say it's possible because there are reports, some of them from government, and there, I at least know as an astronomer that there are anomalous objects that we have seen from interstellar space. So I would say let's nail it. It's not a matter of belief. This is not a religion. This is not supposed to be something that you are indoctrinated into, that you belong to a cult that believes in something. That's not what it's supposed to be. We're talking about objects or entities that appear and might be of extraterrestrial origin. So if that's the case, we should be able to figure them out. We should be able to collect better data, find them, and nail the nature of these mysterious objects. So I would say this just motivates me and excites me to find out what they are. And if we go out and check and it turns out to be human-made or natural from Earth, so be it. At least we learn something.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Have you ever heard of a gentleman named Tim Taylor?
No.
You ever heard that name before? You've heard of Diana Pasulka?
Yes.
So she wrote a book, American Cosmic, where she included someone named Tyler D in the book. Well, that has come out since that his name is Timothy Taylor, and he's a NASA mission scientist, among other things. And he's got some peculiar, he studied Chris Bledsoe. He claims to get these sort of download protocols from the others, whatever we're calling them, where he gets, ideas and thoughts, and that's how he does his work, and builds companies and works with NASA and all of this stuff. And I'm just curious, like someone like yourself, like, what do you think about something like that? Like people in NASA doing things like that, like, would that bother you? Is it strange?
Well, I would like to know more about it. So, if someone would give me the information, I will be very interested. See, I'm curious, but I really want to see tangible evidence that there is something really unusual there. That there was a panel that NASA appointed as a result of me contacting them, and that panel basically said that more science should be put into the search about the nature of UAP, and that's practically what the Galileo Project is doing. So we didn't make much progress with NASA deciding to look into this themselves. They didn't establish a funding path for UAP research, and that was disappointing. So instead of relying on government doing the right thing, I think we should do it ourselves, and that's what the Galileo Project is doing.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. No, that makes total sense. So you're saying that NASA panel that they had sort of announced about UAPs was because you had sent them a message or something?
What happened was that the previous NASA administrator, Nelson, announced that this
Bill
is
Nelson, is that right?
Bill Nelson, yeah. He said that as a senator, he was briefed confidentially about UAP, and therefore he thinks it's a subject that deserves a lot of attention. And he said that about a month before the first report was delivered by the Director of National Intelligence to the US Congress. And a day after he made that statement, I contacted the Director for Science in NASA under him, and Thomas Zurbuchen, and I said, I'm here to help you figure it out, if you want to look into this. And Thomas said, why don't you send me a white paper describing what needs to be done? And I submitted a white paper in which I described scientifically, that a committee should be established and then there should be research. That was a white paper that he received from me and never responded to. And as a result, a month later, I announced the Galileo Project. And then a year later, suddenly he announced the establishment of a committee. So I approached him and said, well, you are establishing the committee based on what I told you. Why didn't you include me on the committee? And he said, well, because now you are engaged with the Galileo Project, and I want the committee members to not be biased about the need to investigate this subject. So it's just like saying we need to study global warming or climate change, but anyone that was interested in studying it in the past should not be part of the committee. Like, what is that? Makes no sense.
I agree. That doesn't make any
at any
sense.
event, the committee took a year to come out with a report. And at the end of that, which was 2 years after I approached Thomas Zurbuchen, 2 years later, they recommended to look into the subject scientifically. And that was 2 years into the Galileo Project, which is exactly what I'm doing. So it ended up being just a completely useless recommendation, because they established a small office within NASA, which is led by a non-scientist that is just a liaison for transferring data directly to the Pentagon. So the way I understood it is, if there is anything that is anomalous, just send the data from NASA to the Pentagon, because it may be related to adversarial nations doing something. And so that was the end of it. That was the bottom line of this interaction that they had.